This is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. With visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budget, and more, NetSuite is everything you need to grow, all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of your competition. 93% of surveyed businesses increased their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite, and right now through the end of the year, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/C-Suite. Head to netsuite.com/C-Suite for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. netsuite.com/C-Suite.
Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process and for authors to learn valuable tips on producing and marketing your audiobooks. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Let's talk about what to do with the About the Author part of your book. First of all, I hope that you have an About the Author in your book, in your print and or ebook editions of the book, and because this is an important part of building your author platform. You should assume that if people have gotten to the end of your book, that they've enjoyed it, they've stayed with it, and they probably would like to know a little bit more about you. Why deprive them of that? So, I have heard from others, and I've noticed it myself in listening to audiobooks, that many people choose to not include their About the Author in the audiobook edition. And this is a decision that I don't really understand because, again, it's the same kind of thing. If your listeners have stayed with you all the way through your audiobook, there's a really good chance that they've enjoyed it and would probably like to know more about you. So, let's talk about what to include in that About the Author. In your print or ebook editions, they may be fine as is, but I want to encourage you in your audiobook edition to take a look at it from an audio perspective and consider possible changes if they're appropriate. So the first one is including your website. This is, of course, should be your central hub, your primary place where you want to drive traffic. And one of the main reasons for that is if you include things such as your social media links, that can be fine, especially in an ebook. But in an audiobook, you know, these are links that could potentially become obsolete. You may decide that you need to change your handle or, build a different page on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And if you're not going to be updating your audiobook to keep up with that, it's much easier to update a print or an ebook edition in that regard. With an audiobook, you want to make sure that information is going to stay current. So if you only include your website, that gives you just one place that you need to maintain your updated information on social media platforms where they can find you on social media. And there may be new platforms that come up that you decide are going to be really important to you that you want to stay active on. Well, if you have it on your website, your listeners will always be able to find you. Another thing that you can and should include in your About the Author is other books that you have published. So include those because they may be looking for them. Even if they're not in audio, that's no reason to not let them know about them. They may want to get the print or the ebook edition. Similarly, if your audiobook that you have just had recorded or have recorded is just one of the editions or formats that you have of this book, For example, if you have a print or ebook edition of this book, then you want to let them know about that as well. So many times there will be audiobook listeners who decide that they've loved a book so much they'd like to get the print book as well, or the ebook as well. So you want to let them know. And likewise, they may have family members or friends who maybe don't listen to audiobooks, but they know they love that book. And so they have an easier way to share that with the people that they care about. So including your website, including other books that you have published. You can also mention other books that are on the way. That's perfectly fine as well. And of course, you'll keep your website up to date on all that information. So by inviting them to your website, you'll always be able to keep them current on what's up with you. Now, one of the cool things that you can offer, and many people don't consider this, is you could offer them a special bonus or a special gift, as you can say, as a thank you for listening to the audiobook. Invite them to your website. You could actually put a special link on there if you choose. If you want to do something specific for your audiobook listeners, then there are certainly easy ways to set that up. And you could create, for example, a separate landing page on your website, use a bit.ly link to direct them to it, or even better for the branding of your website is just make it real easy, like the name of your website.com/audio, something like that, where you're giving them a special gift. You might hide that audio page for others. In other words, on your website, not put a link in your menu to that page. So it would become much easier to find for your audiobook people, but not necessarily for anyone else. But on your audiobook page, you want to make sure you have links back to the rest of your site where you'll want to so that your listeners can re-engage with you. And that's a big part of what this is all about. Is when you have found, as listeners, when we find authors that we really love their content, we want to be able to continue to engage with them. We want to know about their next books that are coming out. We want to know what they're up to. We want to follow them. And so the goal here from the author side of things is make that easy. Don't make it hard for them to find you. I have actually had that experience as a listener where I've been really interested in an author, and it is incredibly difficult to find how to reconnect with them. So I want to encourage you to make it easy and provide great information. The other thing about providing some kind of bonus is, we all love free things or even, just to feel special. As a special thank you, if you offer them some kind of gift that's related to your audiobook that would be fitting for the audience for that audiobook, then you've done a really nice thing for your listeners and created a greater reason for them to come and visit you and stay with you. Some examples of things that you might offer as a special bonus: you may have a lead magnet on your website, especially if you're a nonfiction author. That in itself, if it's already established, can be a great way to just drive your listeners to your lead magnet. Another possibility, both for fiction and nonfiction authors, would be, let's say that you blog, and maybe you have a blog post that is maybe backstory or research that you did. If you do, for example, historical fiction, you've done some research, and maybe you're sharing some of this related content. That's a great kind of bonus material that's already existing. It's not something extra you have to create. If, for example, you have, let's say, a book that's about the healing arts, you may want to offer a special meditation, that kind of thing, a guided meditation that's available on your website. And your audiobook producer should be able to help you to create that. So that's it for now on About the Author. I want to encourage you to make sure that you include your About the Author when your audiobook is being produced, and invite your listeners to stay with you. If you have any questions about this, reach out to us. We love talking about this sort of thing and helping authors to succeed. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.